Hi there, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. In this episode, I had a discussion with Michel Venne. Michel is a pro athlete. He's been a pro athlete most of his life. He's been a pro soccer player. Now he's helping out the Canadian karate team, and he's also teaching MBA students on human performance. Now, we had a discussion on various different topics. Michel, as a pro athlete, he understands what it takes to optimize human performance. In a business environment, whether it's a individual performance or team performance, a leadership performance, or it's a business performance, all of those performance that it depends on a human performance. And Michel understands what it takes to align mental energy, physical energy, and spiritual energy to optimize that human performance to achieve those business goals. I think you will really enjoy this discussion when Michel shares a lot of tips and tricks how to optimize human performance. Don't forget to send us your feedback. Until next time, please welcome Michel Venne. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Michel Venne. Michael, there's so much we can talk about from our discussion we had last week. If you can just simply, first of all, welcome to the podcast. And if you can just simply walk our audience through a little bit of your background, Michael.
Well, sure. First, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. Who am I? Well, my name is Michel Venne, but I first started my professional career, let's say, by doing a university degree in industrial relations. And then I moved into therapy. I became a physiotherapist. I became a teacher and osteopath. And then I moved back to being the owner of my own business, the CEO, where I learned many important stuff, I'd say. And being a life coach and also a professional speaker. What I want to promote is both human optimization combined with happiness all together, because I think that in order to achieve something bigger, something better, those two needs to be combined. Mm-hmm. So that's on a professional level, and underlying this was my athlete career. I've been a semi-professional soccer player and also a coach and member of the karate Canadian team. Mm-hmm. So for the longest time, I've been navigating through excellence. And after a while, like maybe 2 decades ago, I realized that those two worlds, human performance and business, were not so far apart. In fact, they were like the two sides of the same metals, because the mental aspects of performing in those two different fields are the same, literally. And as an example, right now, this past year, I've been teaching the EMBA candidates at University Concordia here in Montreal. And I started by addressing them, by telling them that in 2005, 90% of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 were former elite athletes. And then I asked them, why is that? It's not their physical skills that they bring to the business. It's their mindset, their discipline, their resilience, their whatever. And this is where the two worlds meet. Performance starts there. And then the rest is just like technical skills or soft skills, but something that you can develop if you put your mind into it. So I want to promote that.
Well, human performance is always very critical to businesses, because definitely our productivity depends on it. Team performance depends on it. Company performance depends on it. So let's talk about what you just mentioned, that 90% CEOs are former athletes. So why does this? What do they learn during their years of in sports that they can bring to the table? Is it being competitive, or is it discipline? Like, what are some of the traits you saw? You mentioned a couple already. What are some of the most critical ones that they bring that to the business world?
Let's let's take, for instance, an analogy with the regular day for an athlete, one that is aiming for the gold medal in whatever discipline. They have a certain daily routine. They go to bed at a certain time and they wake up at a certain time. And it's not random. It's very precise. They eat healthy stuff. They do everything in a way that is oriented toward performance, resilience. Most of the time, they practice their skills, their craft every single day. I mean, professional athletes spend more than 90% of their time practicing, only 10% and less competing. So most of their time is spent practicing, which is totally different with professionals. They go to work, they spend a lot of time working, not necessarily practicing intentionally getting better at their skills. They do it because they work a lot. So they obviously get better with time. So this is one thing. Athletes, they have technical coach, physical coach, a support team for health, mental support. They're surrounded by a team that helps them support their performance. Do you have such a team? And I'm not necessarily pointing at you, but I mean at ourselves. Surprisingly, most people don't have these kinds of teams that support them. And they end up seeing a therapist only if they're burnout, they're spent, they're tired, they've got plenty of discomfort, headaches, problem to sleep. So they don't necessarily have their daily routine. They don't have external views on their blind spots. Because as an athlete, you've got your coach saying, oh, you're not aware, but you're doing that. And that affects your performance. When's the last time you had either a coach, a colleague telling you on a regular basis, I mean, daily, if not many times a day? Because for a coach, it's many times an hour when your coach will go like, yeah, this, not so good. And this, not too bad. Okay, let's skip this. You're doing it fine, but let's move to the other, blah, 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 blah.
Accountability comes from coaches.
Yes. For some people need that. And it's mandatory to have it if you need it. So there are a lot of analogies to draw between those two, but the corporate athletes fail to rival with athletes in terms of their routine, their support team, their resilience. Let's just talk about this. You make a mistake as an athlete. You've got to flip on a dime because 10 seconds after you've got to be back on the game. When's the last time you made a major mistake or something happened, and how long does it stay in your mind? And it affects your future performance for days, sometimes weeks on end. So yeah, there's this, and I want to bring more of these mental qualities into the corporate world. So my question to them, my students at Concordia, was, what is your success routine? What do you do on a regular basis, daily basis, to get better, other than just showing up to work and do what you've got to do?
Yeah.
Would it be just to get back from work and asking yourself, what did I do right today? And what did I do wrong that I can correct? So I will not do this tomorrow. And I can do more of what I'm doing right and less of what I'm doing wrong. And just this simple question would change so much in the long term, compound interest. Am I talking too much?
No, very interesting. So the study you saw, was there a difference between some athlete played an individual sports versus a team sports? There's different character you build when you whether you're playing a team sports or individual sport. Where individual, everything is on you. You gotta build a business. You gotta do everything. Where team sport, you're part of the team. definitely you have a more working relationship. You work better with the team, but it's not everything not on you. So is it a different skill set? You saw that from the study that CEOs when you look for 90%.
I love what you're bringing now, and it tells me that you probably practice sports. Would it be individual or team sport? But yes,
I
it's
play
a
individual
different
sport most of the time.
And that, can you tell me why you were doing that?
Well, I just happened to pick that sport, but I played other team sports as well. But what I find is sports build character, it builds skill set in you. But individual sports build totally different character, a totally different skill set compared to team sports, where you're part of the team, but you're not driving the whole win or lose. Everything's win. Whether you win or you lose, you win as a team or you lose as a team. Where individual sports, everything on you, all the eyes on you. You gotta perform. Even your body movements or the way you look at things. There's so much details you have to pay attention to.
Hey, I love it. Let me share my own personal perspective on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends if you're, and just like I said, it's really personal perspective. But I was for a few years, like 7 years, I was the CEO of my place, and there was a joke that we used to say that everything that would happen was because of me, and I would take responsibility, not guilt, but responsibility for everything that was happening in my business. Because as the CEO of my business, if someone's not doing the right job, I need to teach that person to do it better, or provide the tools so that person can do it better, because it's my company. In a team, if I'm playing in a team, I can say, oh, I'm only responsible for my personal performance, or I can say, how can I help my teammates to get better?
Yeah,
I will do my part, but I will also help others by finding how I can provide, would it be tips or a certain form of support, presence, whatever, that can help my teammates. This is what I call extreme ownership. And there's a book about that by Jocko Willink that is called Extreme Ownership. Everything, I'm not guilty for everything that happens. I'm responsible for everything that I may do or not do according to this situation. Let's say you're in the middle of winter, electricity shut down. It's not your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility to stay warm and safe. And if you've got a wife and kids, you will not say, oh, everyone for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's just like being responsible for a team. Your family's a team. There's something that happens, you take the responsibility for everything that happens. It's not your fault. It's your responsibility. You want the safety of everyone, so you have to do something. So this is how I see a little bit. But yes, it's true that spending a lot of time in individual sport or team sport, I practice both. Semi-pro as a soccer player, and at one point I chose to just go strictly on karate because I was tired of seeing others, and I didn't understand back then how I could help them get better as a team. So I just decided to focus only on my own stuff.
Yeah, no, I see that, when you hire people and you bring up people in your team, if they played team sports, they bring a totally different skill set, help you understand where they're going to fit. If you have a big team on a service site, let's say there's a 15, 20 guys, you bring in somebody who played a sports, in a team sport, they're going to fit very, very well. Working with the team is not going to be their issues. They're going to be a good team player. If they play an individual sport, it usually focuses on how do I get better? How do I perform better? So it's a little bit different focus how you look at it. And I think we bring those traits when we play, whatever sport we play, we bring those traits into the workplace when we trying to be part of the team.
Totally. Well, I think the biggest difference is into relationships and communication. Because when you used to train alone, you do your stuff, so you can achieve a lot, but you're not used to work with teammates. So you did not develop your communication skills and how to get into a relationship.
So the CEOs or business leaders who are watching or listening to us, they all need to build their teams. This is a season. We are going to the second quarter right now. They all need to build their teams. They need to perform. They need to grow their company. Not only they have to perform, but they have to get the team's performance up as well, right? Productivity is critical for every business. Definitely, we work on the business quota. This is the number we need to, but the potential is always much higher than where we normally do. So how can they tap into some of the potential that the team members have, or their people working for them they have, instead of just what they're currently performing at? How can they tap into the potential, which is many times higher than what they're performing?
External perspective would be totally useful. And sometimes CEOs, they're in their own way. Ego is in the way, because some CEOs have problem reaching out for help. And in order to get the best out of your team, maybe you're not the best person. Maybe you need an intermediary person between you and your team to get the best out of your team. How will you get that? External perspective. Maybe you've got to hire some individual or instances that can give you that perspective. Do you know Ray Dalio?
Yep.
He wrote a book, Principle. Principle
yep.
It's a deep dive into how to build a machine that works. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm good. Why do you say you're good? What are the examples that show that you're good? Can you list them? Because maybe you're just lying to yourself. Can you ask someone, what are you? Are you just pushing aside all the facts that show otherwise? How will you correct it? So I think that it would be, well, for those who did not read the book, it would be a good start saying, hey, how can I get there? Because it's not just one thing. Getting the best out of your team, first, you've got to be a leader, not only a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Managing, you've got knowledge, you may have experience, but it doesn't mean that your team wants to follow you. They will not necessarily go to war with you because you're the manager. They will do what you say. But if you're a great leader, they will follow you anywhere you'll go because you're their leader. They want to follow your example. You inspire something in them that brings the best out of them and not even forces them, makes them give more than what is expected. So, and it's just the difference between a leader and a manager. But if this is your problem, learn how to be a leader. And not all leaders are outgoing and have glowing personalities. They've got different types of leaders, but maybe you've got this. Maybe you've got to do this. And there are so many other aspects that deserve to be looked at. But if you're somewhere right now that is different than where you want to be, and you don't know how to get there, there's something that you're not doing right, and you need external perspective because it might be any sort of things.
So, generally speaking, very high level, what is there a few items that business leaders can focus on will at least help them to move in the right direction? Are there some of the general items that all CEOs or successful CEOs they do to get to the level where they need to get to if they want to be great leaders? Are there some of those checklist items that they can at least focus on to help them to get there?
Okay, I will not use my own words. I will quote someone else's research.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the author, but he wrote From Good to Great.
Okay. Isn't it Jim Collins, I believe?
Jim Collins, thank you, exactly. And the results, after looking at the most successful companies in the 500 for more than 15 years, he realized that the best leaders, and he gives the analogy between the mirror and the window. The best leaders, when they've got success, when their company is successful, they look through the window toward their employee and they say, we did something great. When there's something wrong, they look in the mirror at themselves and they say, what is it that I can do better? They're not blaming anyone. It's totally different for the bad leaders, so to speak. When everything goes fine, they look in the mirror and they go like, you're the man, you're the woman, you're the real deal. And if there's a problem, they look at the window and they just yell, look at what the mess you're doing. You're doing something wrong. So all this to me is summarized in the matter of mindset. Mindset in all kinds of performance is the key. Because once you focus on something, you will find a way to achieve what you want. And there's even a scientific number about that, because of all the best performers in every field, there's somewhere between 7 and 11%, I think, of those high performers that were less than average in this field. And at one point in time, they said, that's not acceptable. Being so bad, I will do everything to get better. And you've got all kinds of stories about that. Yeah, sorry, you were about to say something.
The mindset is what you just mentioned. That's a critical for business leaders, just to get the right mindset, how many books we go through, how many seminars we do, all to just get the right mindset. So this is a critical. Did that change something in during the time of last couple of years in COVID? Was that challenge, the mindset piece was a challenge for leaders? How to keep a same mindset when you're going through so much and a lot of items you're going through, there's no control over that. People around you, they're going through the same family challenges or financial challenges. How do you keep the same mindset, even though you're going through so many challenges, Michel?
Interesting question again. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Little saying, the bird on the branch is totally trustful. Not that the branch will not break, that even if the branch breaks, he can still fly. Okay? So when something happens, circumstances are circumstances. You can't change circumstances. You can change your look at the circumstances. And this is what people need to change. Because if most people, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be validated. So if they're going through a rough patch, they want people to validate them. Oh yeah, it's really tough. So you can find those. Sometimes what you really need is not to find someone who will tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, because you need to look at somewhere else or someone else. For instance, okay, this happened, but you've got 5% of the population that is thriving in this crisis. If you're not, do you want to just look at those who are not thriving and be complacent in your misery? Or you decide to look at them and say, what do they do? And ask them, you're thriving in times of crisis. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Because I'm not, and I want to go there. So it's a matter of perspective. And once again, it's a mindset. It's not circumstances. A knife is sharp. A knife is not dangerous. A knife is sharp. That's why it's so useful if you use it the right way, and so dangerous if you use it the wrong way. But the thing is that a knife is a knife. It's not either dangerous or useful. It's a knife, and it's sharp. It's inherent to its nature. But sometimes we associate emotion and qualities to a circumstance or a situation that is not there. We do, and it's so deeply engraved, just like death. Few months ago, I was talking with one of my friends who literally comes from Africa, and we were talking about death. Death here in North America, for instance, is considered something bad. And we were talking about this, and she said, in my tribe, because she was literally referring at her family as the tribe, she said, that's not how it goes. Where I've been raised, life is difficult. So we mourn the birth and we celebrate the death because it's the liberation, it's freedom from those hard circumstances. So it's a
totally different way of looking at it.
But it's the same event, it's death, but it's new glasses to look at a certain event. But we tend to think, no, sadness is associated with death. No, it's not necessarily. And you've got Mexican who've got the death celebration, and those are festivities. So all this to say that there are always a different way to look at it. And you've got to choose what kind of glasses you want to wear. And ask yourself, do the glasses I'm wearing help me go where I want to be or not? Because if you've got limiting beliefs, Jim Quick calls them limiting ideas entertained. Yeah. If you keep holding on to your limitations, you will keep them, but look for other role models. That would be my answer.
Yeah, so definitely it's a different perspective, which way you look at it. But having this mindset and perspective for leaders is one thing, but how can they teach that to their staff? Can they translate the same mindset to their staffs? Because that's where the culture comes from, or that's where the workplace and a mindset comes from, right? So me learning a mindset is one thing, but how do I teach my staff? How do I build that similar mindset into my workforce?
I love your question once again. Thank you for that. We're up for a very interesting conversation. Extreme ownership gets into play. If you're a leader, and I've got this little anecdote, and I was really flattered when one of my team members said that. We were going through a very, very difficult financial crisis at the business. And at one point, my partner, she asked our employees if they were worried about all this situation, because we were really transparent with them. And one of them said, no, my gauge to see if I should be worried or not is Michel. I look at him, and if he's not stressed, I don't see any reason why I should be stressed. So I'd call it aura, for lack of a better word, will be contagious. Mm-hmm. And it's true that it does not come naturally, this extreme ownership. We have been raised in a culture where it's so easy and common to blame others. It's never my fault. If I can find something, someone, the temperature, the potholes, the government, the officers, my neighbors, whoever can be blamed for that, I will not take the blame for that. As opposed to Stoics, and I refer to the ancient philosophy that is still so accurate today, they were owning everything. And people should read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations and get a little more stoic. So if you want to teach how to your team to own their stuff, you've got to ask them questions. You've got to start being a little more of a right mentor, coaching. It will not be spontaneous. At least I've been doing this for years and it's still not spontaneous. I'm just better than I was 10 years ago. So much better, but there's still a lot to go. But I started somewhere because I wanted to do that. If you want this for your team, do this. Take time with them. Ask them the right questions. What is it that you need help with? What are your options? Do you have better options? What are they? Do you know people that had to go through the same kind of crisis? Do you know what they did? Can you ask them? Oh, it's coaching them up to a certain point where when there's a crisis that hit, they hear you in their head. They go like, oh, what would my boss do? What would Gurmeet do? And yeah, oh, he always says, is there another option? What is it? How can I apply it? Who can help me with that? Oh, okay. So it's a training. Honestly, it's no different than if you're implementing your any kind of system and you need your employees to get a certain certification. To work with this new program, the blah, blah, blah. It's obvious. You just go like, no, it's either you hire someone who's giving the certification to all your team, or you send the members to get their certification. But it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So if you want people to own their thing, why not giving them a class about owning their stuff and teaching them how to do it? Because if you want to raise leaders, and not everyone's supposed to be a leader, but many people can be leaders of their own, even if they're not CEOs of the company. But if you want to breed leaders, you've got to breed their soft skills. This is what people need. This is what best leaders have. They've got soft skills, and ownership is one of the soft skills that you need if you want to be a leader.
Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Great point, Mike. So we talk about mindset. We talk about, how do we become a leader and teach that to your staff. But business leaders who are building the team, they're scaling the team. You're always going to have a people in your team that the one willing to run with you, willing to follow your leadership and become a great team player. And there's always somebody else who's not willing to run with it. Can you filter this out? If the person's going to be able to develop the right mindset during the recruiting process before you add somebody to your team, can you filter that out? That these people hiring, they're going to be great team players. I'm going to be able to coach them. They're going to build them right mindset, and we can have a great team. Or somebody's going to cause chaos in a team. Can you filter that out? And what are some of the symptoms you want to look for if you're trying to filter that out that before you hire somebody?
It seems so clear in your mind, the way you show the example, that you probably have been through this sort of...
We're business leader. We go through this all the time.
Yeah, but you've got to have sort of your scorecard at the very beginning. And we were talking about Ray Dalio's book, and now I'm bringing another book. We talk about Jim Collins, another book, Who is about hiring the right people. And it's not just about, I want this diploma and having the knowledge of this, blah,
That's
blah.
teachable.
No.
All that is teachable.
Yes. And so what you're asking me now, is it a team player? So right from the very beginning, your interview or your interview process should be oriented toward this, among other things. Is that person a team player? Because his role is in a team, so he has to be a team player. Some other roles are not that much that are not so involved in team playing. So yes, so you're not looking for team player in those positions. It's just sort of an extra if they are. But in other positions, it's mandatory that the hiring process can point it out right from the very beginning, because you don't want to have a superstar that does not work with a team. Yeah, but he fits, he checked all the boxes. Obviously, there was one box missing if he's supposed to be a team player and you never asked. So some people will be willing and teachable, but some others aren't. But if they are not, and they're already hired, once again, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your company's fault. And it was at the very beginning, the hiring process. So you've got a scorecard. What's important for me? Positivity, ownership, team player. It's soft skills. It's not a diploma in this and that and that. That would be, and maybe once, if they're already in the team, maybe it's worth asking them, would you be willing to work in a team? How does that sound for you? Team playing. What does that represent for you? Do you feel like you're playing as a team player right now? What can you do to improve yourself? Are you interested in improving yourself? What can we do to help you? And then with all this, it's a dialogue that engages, that might lead to exclusion or inclusion and moving forward. But in both cases, you'll know, every party will know what to do and why they're doing it.
Very interesting. There's so much to learn from you, Michael. So what inspired you to get into leadership and start teaching people and helping people to grow? What was a point in time that triggered you? You want to take this journey on?
It's more of a curveball right there, because it has to do with, I'd say, personal values and life philosophy. I think that there's a lot of fulfillment in getting better at life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Just expansion, I would call it expansion, but being better with your relationship, with your health, with your happiness, with your everything at work, outside of work. And what I realize is that I've got to talk with high performers already, because those who are not, and when I'm saying high performers, it does not mean CEOs or international athletes, just someone who wants to get better at what they're doing. And it might just be communication. It might just be, I want to be a better father, a better mother, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to communicate with my kids. Okay. And there's a lot of fulfillment in giving them the tools to strengthen that bond. So I wanted to provide the tools and help people get better at whatever they want. For me, this is what fulfills me. And knowing how it felt when I just got better at whatever I was doing, now I want to share it with those who are looking for those answers.
Very interesting. How big was a part of this whole journey, your sports background, competing in whether it's soccer or whether you're dealing in work in karates, you build character, you learn, there's so much experience you go through, because when you put your body through so many different challenges, definitely you have a different, mindset growth. So how big was part of that sports background, part of your current journey?
Honestly, I'd say, well, maybe it's not 100%, but it's higher than 90%, because sports and life, obviously, but trying to optimize myself molded my entire self. So this is what I brought into business. And it was not all helpful, though. And I think it's interesting to say, as a karateka, if you remember, I said I switched from soccer to karate because I was tired of being sort of limited by my other team players who were not, from my perspective, giving or committed as much as I was, and it was affecting the final results. So I decided to just pursue a karate career where I was responsible for my own success and failures. And I had high standards. When I first started my business, that was a problem. I brought it all in. And trust me, not everyone wants to be treated in a martial art way, because it was too much. They're not there for that. So this is what led me to, and I was taking extreme ownership of that, because I was not to blame others for this. I thought, okay, I need to find a better way to communicate adequately with my team if I want to bring my team to get the best results possible, because right now I am not.
Yeah.
So that led me to my coaching certification, not because I wanted to be a coach, because I realized that I was not the best person I could be because of my communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought it all in. I just kept building on those strengths and trying to get rid of what was not useful in my communication with others or my interaction with others. But still, I kept those standards high for myself, but I cannot impose those standards. I can ask people or try to be compelling for them to get there, but I cannot force them. So I had to adapt definitely what I was and what I brought from my athlete career into something different that was more relevant and appropriate in order to achieve the goal I wanted to achieve with a team, knowing that this time I could not do it alone. I needed a team. So if I needed a team, I need to be adequate with this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I play sports growing up as well. So, the discipline and the business required and the hard work required and the consistency the business required. And I believe I built that in sports when I was playing sports. So I bring that to the business as well. And I use the skill set that I built in a sports on a daily basis. I think the way I push a business, what I do in a business is all come from all the character skills that I need to own a business or build a company. It all comes from sports background, and give us full credit to sports that hardware push in sports, definitely that character build and the discipline you use on a daily basis is all from sports.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
If you don't mind
No worries.
me asking you a question. Knowing that all those qualities that you developed while practicing your sports, how do you feel and what's your reaction toward your colleagues or employees that do not have the same discipline, will, commitment?
You want to be, you want to be humble, and you cannot expect that from people. People come from different backgrounds. They have different experiences. You cannot expect that. Just because I have it doesn't mean somebody else to bring that to the table. But you are mindful of that. You can influence them if they want to start working on themselves. You can guide them if they need some guidance. But we all come from different backgrounds and form a team. So my always approach is I can share my experience, but doesn't mean I expect that from you as well. You may have a different style, how you want to get to the same point. You may have a different path to get to it. But that's what the teams are. We have a diverse of ideas. We all come to the same conclusion, but we come from different paths and different areas and different angles. But as long as we come to the same conclusion, I think that's what more important than simply, doing it other people's style or the same approach. Does that make sense?
That makes plenty of sense.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So how do you help people and where can people find you, Michael?
Honestly, I'm not that good with social media and stuff, so I'm not very present. So it's more of word of mouth that spread and people are just requiring my services or not. But you can find me on a website. My website which is Xmind Project, xmindproject.com.
Yep.
I think that would be the best. And same thing on Instagram, Xmind Project.
I will include links below the video. I'll include both Instagram and your website links below the video, so people can click a link and they can reach out to you.
Okay. That would be it. I would say that go reach me through those websites and I'd be happy. You know what? I can't wait because I've got different contract with different companies, but just for like a conference or a workshop, I'd love to work with a company, for a company. I'd be part of their team member to just raise the human resources that are there in the company. That would be my dream. So if anyone's looking for that out there, just bring me in.
Okay, good stuff. Hey, I learned so much from our discussion. I'm sure people are listening, watching, they're going to learn so much from our conversation. I request all of people to just reach out to you, have a conversation with you. Who knows where the discussion is going to take you? I learned so much. I'm sure anybody who's in your contact, they're going to learn so much from a discussion with you as well. And especially with the teams, if they're looking the team's performance to increase or just a human potential, they're looking to just improve their potential. You've been there, you've done that many times. You can help them out, while they're going through the journey. So thank you so much for your time, Michael. It was a great discussion. I enjoyed our conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Well, looking forward for the next one too. And thank you, because you make that happen and you're helping a lot of people with your videos and stuff. So thank you for that.
All right. Thank you.